Alright, welcome back nerds, geeks, and gamers to another video on the channel about the current state of PvP endgame in Dune Awakening. This is the hill I'm going to die on. I will crush my reputation and I will continue to harp on the state of endgame PvP in Dune Awakening until something is done to encourage some sort of fair play, some sort of faction system, some sort of actual legitimate quality PvP in the endgame of Dune Awakening, because as it stands right now, the only reason to kill anybody else in the endgame of PvP is simply to grief them, to set them back hours of their time for no gain of your own at all. So the state of PvP in the endgame of Dune right now is a griefer paradise. And everybody who is just attempting to go out there and engage with what they can of the endgame loop is just constantly under threat of being attacked by people that they can't fight back against because you cannot equip rockets and a storage at the same time in this game. So if you want to go gather, you're basically just prey for the people who feel like killing you and thumpering your thopter so that the worm eats it, and you have to spend hours and hours and hours of your time regaining those resources. So let's talk a little bit about what risk versus reward systems are, why they exist, why they're always garbage in every game, and why they have no place in Dune Awakening. Specifically, I want to talk about why risk versus reward PvP systems have no place in Dune Awakening. I'm totally fine with the worm eating me. I honestly am, and taking all of my stuff, that's okay with me. I don't mind it. I find that that's actually very, very compelling. When you put your endgame resources, when you place your endgame loop in a zone where I have to risk my resources, my items, my progression to go and simply engage with the game, right? Because my reward for going out there and risking all that stuff is that I get to just keep doing the same things I'm doing in Haga Basin, somewhere where some random can just kill me and take my stuff. Right? That's the reward I get for the risk. And so when you do that, you're not motivating players to play the game. And that's always what risk versus reward is touted as. It's a motivation to engage in PvP. And that's a huge reason why I don't think it has a place in Dune Awakening, because I will read, and I quote, a message from the creative director. Our goal is not to force PvE players to interact with a PvP system that they may have no interest in. By definition, risk versus reward systems and locking endgame progression and endgame rewards behind PvP systems are antithetical to the idea of not forcing PvE players to engage in PvP. Because if I have to go into a zone, especially if I have to be risking my resources, not just if somebody can kill me, but if that person can set me back hours, then simply entering that zone is engaging in PvP. I now have to be more alert. I now have to be equipped differently so that I can run away. I now have to be playing the game in a completely different manner than I would if I was simply in a PvE zone. So you are forcing players to engage in PvP, and you are forcing those players to engage in the most brutal form of PvP that there is. So you cannot have both of those statements be true. You cannot say we wish to preserve the concept of risk versus reward and simultaneously say we do not want you to have to engage in PvP if you don't want to. Those things are antithetical to each other. Stop doing it. And so let's talk a little bit about why specifically Dune Awakening doesn't need and shouldn't have risk versus reward PvP. And that is because Dune Awakening is a faction PvP game. And Dune Awakening has a large list of rewards that you can gain from PvP that will motivate people to PvP if you fix this system right here. And it's always going to come back to this, and we're going to keep talking about it over and over and over again, because I am tired of this system right here not even existing in the game. I don't even open this menu up every day, and it is the end game driver for Dune Awakening, but it is trash right now. It doesn't work, and because it doesn't work, the risk versus reward system is limping along, trying to get people to engage in PvP that just doesn't matter. And the reason that the Landsraad system doesn't matter, and the reason the Landsraad system isn't driving PvP, is because the faction system doesn't work. The current best strategy for a world of players, if a whole world of players wanted to be optimized, the best current strategy is for everybody to join the same house so that everybody gets the decree rewards every single week, to completely ignore the faction system, and then literally if you win even one house, right, one house vote is all you would need, and everybody would just get the decree rewards every week. So you just automatically win, you automatically get it, and then you're really only fighting over who inputs the most, so who gets the most votes, so you can specifically get the decree that your guild wants, but it becomes a guild versus guild system at that point. It is not a faction warfare system like it's supposed to be. There is no reason to engage in it that way, and it kills any potential that there might be for PvP at control points in the deep desert. It kills any potential there might be for factions to work together to attempt to control resource points in the deep desert, right? Resource patches in the deep desert. It kills any reason that there might be for factions to band together to make anything in this Landsraad system useful. And this Landsraad system has incredible, incredible rewards, right? You've got the decrees. These decrees are fantastic. Access to a Landsraad tool vendor, awesome. Repair costs and refining times are reduced by 75%, awesome. Experience gain is increased by 15%, super duper awesome. On top of that, you have fantastic personal rewards that can be earned by engaging with each of these house representatives and by gaining points each week for these house representatives. And this list of personal rewards is going to start expanding. This list of potential decrees is going to start expanding. The Landsraad system is going to start having contracts that you can do that are going to allow you to open up different houses early. So instead of just having to wait for the houses to auto show 4 at a time every week, you're going to start being able to engage in contracts for these people to bribe them basically into showing you that information early. At least that was my impression from the message from the director that we got, that we're going to be able to open some of these up early by completing contracts. So there's going to be legitimate strategy behind which of the houses you unlock and which of the houses you complete in order to block the 5 in a row, the Sisselrad, from being achieved by the enemy faction. This system is so incredibly good. It needs to be the absolute focus of everything that Dune Awakening devs are doing right now. Funcom must fix the Landsraad system, because right now the only people engaging in PvP are griefers. Their only goal is to stop other people's progression, because that's the only metric by which they can be gauging their victory. Right? The victory isn't about the Landsraad, because everything is super one-sided on almost every server right now. Everybody is just one faction, because the factions don't matter, because you can just kill anybody you want in your faction. So you need to enforce the faction system so that people actually have to start working together, and then you need to enforce a balance between the two sides so that people actually have to start working together. And then you're going to be able to get this Landsraad kicking into high gear. You're going to get factions working together, and it's no longer going to be the only metric by which you can gauge your victory. It's not going to be just whether or not I have more stuff than everybody else. It's going to be whether or not we're actually winning these votes. It's going to be whether or not we're actually engaging with this system. So get rid of the risk versus reward. This is motivation enough right here. Right? Durability is fine. If I die, I lose some durability, great. If my copter gets shot down, right? My ornithopter gets shot down, whatever type of ornithopter it is, it loses some durability. I go back, I repair it, I fly it back home, whatever. Those are fine things, but potentially losing all of my stuff because of a PvP engagement, because somebody downs me out in the open dunes and then thumpers my thopter and I lose literal hours of gameplay, is not engaging. It's not fun. It's not entertaining at all. And the fact that that possibility exists gives griefers a green light to make that happen, to force you down in the dunes so that you lose everything. Right? There's no point in that. I don't know what you have to do to change the way the worms work so that I don't lose everything when I die to a PvP engagement in the deep desert. If there's some sort of tag system, or if the worm just doesn't make you lose your ornithopter anymore. But risk versus reward is not engaging. It's not fun, and it does not motivate PvP. Right? This motivates PvP. This motivates fun. This motivates teamwork. This motivates engaging gameplay. Risk reward motivates griefing. It always has. It always will. So take it out of the game. Find a way to make the deep desert, specifically PvP in the deep desert, less punishing. And find a way to fix this Landsraad and this faction system so that I have a reason to engage with the other members of my faction while I die here of thirst, because I've been standing outside on my balcony here this whole time, so that I can engage with my faction and have legitimate teamwork going on and a legitimate war going on out in the deep desert over the resources. So I want to thank you all for coming by. If you're primarily a PvE player and you're having a little trouble with the Dune endgame, jump down in the comments. Let's talk a little bit about some of our experiences, some of the things that are happening out there in the deep desert, so that Funcom can get a better understanding of what it is that's causing players to not have fun anymore and to seriously consider putting the game away. We want to keep those numbers up, right? We want 100,000 people to play this game for years, not for this game to dwindle down to where it only has 20 or 30,000 concurrent players at peaks, and normally only has a player base of, say, 10 or 12,000 players. That's not good. That's not healthy. That's not what we want. We want a much, much stronger player base, rock in much, much more people all the time, because this game has a great base. The PvE in this game is fantastic. Haga Basin is fantastic. The deep desert is a pretty freaking cool zone. It could be more interesting, but it's a desert. It's hard to make it interesting, especially because it's supposed to be a really Dune-y desert. But we need to be able to engage in the end game. We need to be able to engage in the Landsraad. The Landsraad has to have meaning, and it has to have more meaning than just I go out into the deep desert and 13 people come and gank me while I'm trying to mine some spice, and I lose my ornithopter and all my gear, and then they get to pretend like they won some victory. That's not cool. That's not fun. That's not engaging. Stop making it happen. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I hope you're all having fun out there in Arrakis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's keep just getting in there, in the comments, in the Reddits, everywhere you can, to talk about how unfun the risk versus reward system is and ways that it can be changed to make the game better. So I hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.